train to the plastic underground. Approaching the station, please stand away from the platform edge. Alright, so I am painting this file I bought from the Galactic Armory. He has a ton of amazing files. He has like full costumes, full suits, and tons of statues. So yeah, I bought this a while ago and printed it all up, and then it's just kind of been sitting on my I have a big drawer full of like 3D prints. It's really funny. Sometimes you will 3D print stuff and you say like, oh man, that's gonna take like 12 hours. That really sucks. But here's the thing, like I print them overnight, like before I go to bed usually. So like obviously not the 12-hour prints, but a normal like 4 or 5 hour print is done in the morning. And yeah, what ends up happening is like I get everything printed and cleaned and set aside, and then they just sit in a box because the time-consuming part is painting them and sanding them and getting them finished, not the printing part. So anyway, that's kind of my long rant on it doesn't really matter how long a print takes because all the work is going to be in the sanding and painting stage. So don't end up with boxes of 3D prints like I do. So there you go. So in these videos where I'm painting stuff, it's kind of hard for me to just kind of talk the whole time. I feel like I don't really add much context to the situation. But yeah, anyway, let's give it a shot. So obviously I painted everything gray. You saw that. Then I painted the boots this light brown. And now I'm going through with some darker brown, and I'm painting all the soles of the boots and the leather strapping that goes around the boots that holds the shin armor in place. So now that that is based in that dark brown, I can go through and add some gloss black to the top straps here. Just adding a couple, like layers, add more details, and the whole time I'm painting, I'm looking at like reference images of Bo-Katan. Also, I'm looking at like how Hot Toys painted their statue. I feel like that helps pretty good. And so then I can go in with a little bit of this light blue, and I can start painting all of her armor parts. So with a brush first, I just kind of do all the edging, making sure that everything is clean. And then I can kind of go through with a bigger brush and do all of the bigger areas. So I paint both of her shins, and now I can paint her knee guards. Those also are blue. And then we'll go on to paint like her shoulder pauldrons, and her helmet is also the same blue. So then we go in with this custom brown I mixed up. This is some brown and a lot of orange, and gives you this kind of like orangey brownish color. Now that it's finished and painted and everything, I think looking back, I think her leather strapping is more. It's such a hard color to mix. I mean, it's pretty much orange, but it's still like leather. But it's, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. It's very orange. It's very red leather. So, did my best just to try to make an orangey brown that's different than all of my base browns. So, it's hard when a model has a lot of brown color. You're trying to make it look like it does, but you're also trying to add different color browns so that it looks like it's different color browns. You don't want like all the leather to be the same color. You don't want all of the all the brown parts to be the exact same brown. So yeah, so I think mixing up a couple custom colors here and there, especially for browns, helps. This is a different color brown for the strapping on her pants and the base of her belt. You saw me paint around her waist, like the base belt is this brown, and she's got that orange belt on top for all of her pouches and that kind of stuff. So also part of her chest armor strapping gets painted this brown on both sides of these little like costume parts here that go like under the armor. And I assume that they like hold everything together. So now using the same blue here, her shoulder armor like strap things that go over her shoulder, they also get painted blue. And also you can see in the background there that her gauntlets are also blue. And the model that I printed out here has the mythosaur skull on the other pauldron, so that is going to be a chrome color, so that does not get painted blue. But yeah, this footage is a little blurry. I think my camera had like a smudge on it or something. I didn't notice till I was done. But I'm using my airbrush to paint her helmet, just to make sure it has a really smooth, good coat on it. I didn't want any brush strokes or anything on it, so I used my airbrush to paint that. Now on her jetpack, I go through and I paint some of the other details the same blue. So far we've painted a lot of brown, we've painted a lot of blue. But now I got her hands clipped on this little alligator clamp so that I can hold it. I'm just going through with some gloss black, and I'm painting the whole thing black. Her glove, her armor, and her gun. Painted all black so that way the chrome and silver stands out a little bit more. Her gray base coat I was not happy with. It was too light, and it probably would have been fine after I weathered it. Probably would have darkened it up a little bit, but I decided to use the same base color I used, but add a little bit of black to it, just to kind of make everything dark. So then I had the joy of going around and painting everything that was the bottom coat around everything that I already painted. So that was great, but I got it, and you can see that how much darker that is and how much better it looks. Using a little bit of this all-clad, I think this is steel, and I've never done this before. I always airbrush this stuff. You're supposed to airbrush this stuff, but I just used a little paintbrush here for the guns, and it worked fine. It came out looking pretty good. I mean, it's not super shiny. I know if you airbrush it, it gets a better finish, but I think they look pretty great for what they are. So now I'm just using some silly putty. This is a great painting technique that I've kind of recently discovered, and I'm just using it kind of like modeling clay. I'm just putting it on her helmet and all the spots that need to be white. So I mainly just, I cover the two cheek parts, and then putting this strip around the top of the helmet where it's going to be white. The thing that's really cool about Silly Putty is that it sticks to what you're putting it on, but it's not sticky. So when you go to peel it off, it doesn't peel the paint off. It's pretty cool stuff. So I stick it on, and then now I'm just using this little dental tool here just to make sure that it's got a really straight, crisp line. You can see I didn't bother masking off the range finder just because that's going to be painted black or silver or whatever, but you're not going to see it. So then I just start to airbrush some white on the front of her helmet. And I'm kind of using the brush, just the air, to dry it in between coats. So it looks like I'm painting it the whole time, but I wasn't. I put a light layer on, move the needle down so it's just spraying air just to dry it. Then I can spray a little bit extra coat and then dry it again. Just so I end up putting like three, 4 layers on. That's the thing about airbrushing, is it is very quick to dry, and you also get a better finish. But I don't use it enough. I really should use it more. But you can see how well that Silly Putty comes off and how well that looks. It gives you a nice crisp line, and you don't have to mess around with tape or anything like that. And yeah, it's really, really, really great for like models and stuff. So then I can go ahead and start gluing stuff together. So I glue the legs on. So the thing I did too that I didn't show is, before I start painting all of this silver and anything that's going to be metallic and silver looking, you want to clear coat everything first. So I clear coat everything with like a matte clear coat spray paint, and now on top of that, now I can go through and paint all of my metallic colors. If you do the opposite, then obviously like your matte clear coat is going to dull out the metal look of stuff. So yeah, that's why I do that. Plus that also helps protect the paint layer, so when you're holding it and moving it around, it doesn't rub off on your hands. And also when you weather it, the weathering looks a lot better and it doesn't stain the paint. If you don't clear coat your base paint layer, the weathering part will actually soak into the paint and stain it really dark. You won't be able to just apply weathering your wet coat and be able to keep it in the recesses and the grooves and stuff. It will actually stain into all the paint. So yeah, you have to seal it if you're going to be doing weathering or any metallic on top. Plus it's a good idea just to do it anyway. But yeah, so obviously, like I said, you can go around now and start painting in all of your metal parts, all of your metallic colors. So again, I use that steel, that all-clad steel, and I painted all of the armor pieces and all of her, a couple of her like hip guards and stuff. They all get painted that same steel, kind of make it look like Beskar. And then I use Vallejo silver. I think it's actually called chrome, but I think this is Vallejo chrome, but it's just a really good silver. And I go through and I paint like her belt buckle and that center thing on her chest armor, and then her hand plates. Her hand armor also gets that same silver. And then I also paint her her shoulder pauldron with the mythosaur. I paint that silver too, because that is pretty new. It's Beskar, but it's pretty like recently forged, so I wanted it to be a little bit shinier. I want it to be a little different than the other like Beskar like armor, so that's why I did that. I can glue her jetpack on, this is kind of the best part when you start gluing and assembling stuff and you're starting to see it like all kind of come together. You've been spending so much time like painting her arms and feet and stuff like separately, and then when you finally start putting stuff together, it starts coming together and starts looking pretty good. Yeah, so then I glue her hands in place and everything. And she still needs a little bit of detail work that we can do now that it's all together. I kept her helmet off for a bit too, just to paint the details on there. I lost the footage for that. I don't know where that went. I filmed so much like of this whole project, and then when I went to like edit everything together, I didn't have any footage of me putting like the stripe, like the owl stripes and the stuff on there. So yeah, that kind of sucks. Because I did all that by hand, and it came out really good, and I'm really like proud of the way it looks. So you'll see the end result, obviously, but just know that like I drew that on with like a pencil lightly, and then I painted it. I painted it on top, so you can get the same results just by eyeballing it. Again, I didn't want to make like a stencil out of tape and stick it on and have the tape peel the white off and just be it'd be a whole thing. Then you got to sand it and start over, and it's just a nightmare. So I opted to just draw it on and just paint it with a little brush. So that's how I did it. The same way you're seeing painting all the little details on her gauntlets and stuff. So her visor I'm painting right now, I'm painting it a gloss black so that it's shiny, and so it looks like it's an actual like visor inside the helmet, so it's got a little shine to it. Yeah, so last detail here for her belt buckle is gold. Just painting a little gold square on her belt. And then her rocket or whistling bird or whatever you want to call it is also a gold color. So that works out pretty good. The gun now gets a little detail, little separation lines. So some of that silver just to kind of make it look a little different. And then her helmet, the back of her helmet is silver, so that gets painted silver. So then I'm starting the weathering because, like I said, I don't know where the rest of that footage went on the helmet, and kind of bums me out. But going through with some weathering now. This is just some dark brown mixed up, and so I'm just kind of schlepping that all over, and then I just take my little microfiber here and I just kind of dab it and just kind of try to take most of that off and just keep it in the detail lines. The other part of the footage that I don't have, I think it was with the helmet, is some of the stitching on her uniform. You can kind of see I painted it a light gray so that the stitching stands out. And obviously the owl logo on her shoulder pauldron, I also painted that by hand too. So yeah, so sorry about that. That kind of upsets me. It would have been nice, to add another 10 minutes to this video. That would have been great. So Oh well. But yeah, so just going through and weathering everything, just making sure everything's dark and everything's, it's Star Wars. Everything's dirty. Everything's always covered in space dust and filth and grease and oil and stuff. So honestly, for me, this stage here, the weathering, this is what makes it look realistic. Like if you kept this like totally clean, like, if that's what you like, that's really cool. But for me, it looks like a toy, right? Because it's like really shiny and clean and very like manufactured. So it just looks like a Fisher Price toy. But you add that layer of grime and dirt and stuff to it, and now it looks realistic. It just adds life to it. So that's like my favorite part. It really all kind of comes together. It's one of those things that, like, even like making like props, like full-size props and stuff, and models, painting models, you spend so much time making sure that all the details are like perfect and precise and like very clean, and then you take just brown black paint and you just paint all over it. You just rub it all over the place, and it's really this funny concept to me that it's like you spend so much time making it like beautiful, and then you make it look like dirty and but that's what you're going for, and I still think that it looks great. So yeah, I am using a little sea sponge here with that base color blue, and I'm just going through and I'm just splotching it around her helmet, just to make it look like some chips and that kind of stuff. Then I go over it with some black. I grab a little bit of black and I do the same thing. I'm just adding splotches and chips and battle damage and all that kind of stuff to kind of, look like blaster ricochets and, all that kind of stuff. Like that, if you put too much on, you can just use your finger and just kind of wipe it off quick. That's a pretty good technique. So yeah, just going around all her armor, just adding some black spots and stuff, and then you can kind of go in with a brush too and add these like ricochet, like streaks, that kind of stuff. You can be more precise with the brush. The sea sponge thing kind of gives you a more like organic like texture, but you have a little bit more control with your brush. So doing both, I think, adds a really good mix, like blend of both, that kind of style. And so yeah, her chest armor needed some blaster fire and some blemishes and stuff because it was too clean. Okay, so now no figure is complete until it has somewhere to stand. So, using some of this insulation foam that I always use for bases and models and dioramas and that kind of stuff. So, I cut out this cool like rectagons rounded edge thing, and then I also cut out some 5mm foam, and just kind of drawing up some cool space like grates and that kind of stuff. I looked at a couple reference images. I don't know why this footage is. Anyway, I looked at a couple reference images of like cool space, like ship, like flooring and that kind of stuff. So that's just kind of what I'm going for. I'm just creating layers, like depth, So this red foam here is like 2 millimeter. The brown foam is 5 millimeter, and I'm just adding different layers, different textures, that kind of stuff. I cut these little panel lines out again just to add like depth and layering and that kind of stuff. So then this main part here, this is some just some regular 2 millimeter foam, not what the foam. So it's even thinner than the 2 millimeter what the foam. And I'm taking my blade here and I'm just going through and I'm just cutting a screen like pattern, diamond shape pattern in. And then I can hit that with a heat gun and open up all those cut lines and give it a little bit of depth. So this super glue that I have here is some Bob Smith's. This stuff is rated for foam, so it does not melt this insulation foam. So I specifically bought this stuff on Amazon for that reason, so I can use it on this type of foam. If you don't use this specific super glue, hot glue works fine. It just is thick, and sometimes you get, beads and stuff underneath it. And you can also use like Elmer's glue, school glue, but I mean, who has the time? Who has the time for that stuff? So this glue works really good. I've had no problems with it, and it's even strong enough to use for like other stuff. So it's not just only strong enough for foam. It's perfect for a lot of stuff. So. But yeah, so now I glue everything together. You can see how that adds some, textures and some layers and stuff. And then all the excess, I just kind of trim off. Then I can go through with some sandpaper here and just kind of knock those corners down. Just kind of sand them and kind of shape them, make sure that they're not just these sharp cuts on the side. This is some FX primer. This is a flexible primer paint. I've used this on a couple other projects. I bought this at Hobby Lobby because it was on sale. I've always been intrigued by the FX brand. It's supposed to be flexible paint for specifically foam and like cosplay and stuff. It's just pricey for the size of paint you get. And I mean, it works really good. The primer works really good. I think I've talked about it before. To me, when I opened it, it smells like Mod Podge. So I'm like 80% sure that it's just Mod Podge and then rebranded for their brand. Or maybe they add a little bit of something else to it. I don't know. But anyway, it works. It's fine. I have the bottle, so I'm going to use it. And yeah, so then I just go through with just some regular black craft paint. And because I'm impatient, I just poured a bunch on top and go through and paint it all that way instead of putting it in a little jar or on my paint pad that I use. So yeah, that works just as good. Helps you get full coverage. So then I go through with some silver. I tried to use my finger like rub and buff, but that didn't really work. So I wish I had some rub and buff. That would have worked pretty good. But anyway, I just dry brush this silver, this Vallejo silver. I think it's chrome, and it just dry brushes on the grating part, just to add a little bit of shine and that kind of stuff. So I didn't really like the dry brush look, so I just went through and I just painted it like fully silver. It's been a while since I've worked on this, so I kind of forgot what I did. So using some dark gray now, I'm going through and I'm painting all of the what would you call them, like the framing. This is the part that like the grates would sit on like a ship. Just painting all those gray. Yeah. So then you can weather it. So using some brown, black, watered down wash. Just adding that on. This is a good example. I did not spray this with sealer. So you can see how much darker that gray got after the weathering, because that gray soaked in all of that darker paint. But I like it in this case because that's kind of what I was going for. And now I can go through with a light silver, light gray, and just do a little bit of dry brushing and add some scuffs and some, wear and tear and stuff. So I think that came out pretty cool. It's a really cool, interesting, looking, grading kind of thing. You can say maybe it's a ship, or who knows, But I think it's cool. I think it adds interest, and that is it, you guys. That's how I painted Bo-Katan for my Star Wars collection. So I hope you liked it, and I hope you share it with somebody who likes Bo-Katan, or somebody who's getting into 3D printing and painting, that kind of stuff. I'm not an expert painter by any means, but you can see how just a few easy kind of steps you can get pretty good results. So please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know if you want to see anything me build specifically in the comments. I always kind of like seeing requests. And I'll catch you guys next time when I make something cool.